All right, here is the next unit. We have Kapitel 4.4, personal pronouns. So let's get back to our verbs real quickly before we get to this next unit. We had Nina isst jeden Tag Schokolade. So isst is, of course, coming from essen. So Nina eats chocolate every day. Nina isst jeden Tag Schokolade. So if it were just the one S there, it would be Nina isst with ist. That would be Nina is chocolate every day, which makes a lot less sense than eats chocolate every day, but makes a difference with two S's or just one. Claudia und Stephanie geben morgen eine Party. Claudia and Stephanie are giving, as in hosting, a party tomorrow. That comes from geben. That one's easy because it looks just like the infinitive. Nothing strange going on there. Nummer 3. Nimmt immer den Bus zur Uni. So nimmt actually comes from nehmen, and there's a vowel change you can see there. He always takes the bus to the university. He takes always the bus to the university. Wir nehmen manchmal ein Taxi. We take sometimes a taxi. We sometimes take a taxi. Nehmen is the same. So with the wir, there's no vowel change, so it's not too tricky. Wir sprechen sehr gut Deutsch. Same deal. The wir is just the same as the infinitive. Wir sprechen. Wir sprechen. We speak German very well. Wir sprechen sehr gut Deutsch. Tante Bettina spricht kein Englisch. So you can see there is a vowel change. Spricht is, of course, different from sprechen. Aunt Bettina does not speak English, or she speaks no English, either way. Peter wird morgen 21. Peter becomes or turns 21 tomorrow. So werden becomes wird. That's quite a tricky one. Wann wirst du 21? When do you become 21? So wirst, that's the vowel change from werden. Mein Vater liest jeden Morgen die Zeitung. Liest comes from lesen. My father reads the newspaper every morning. Katja sieht heute Abend einen Film. So sieht comes from sehen. And Katja is seeing a film tonight or this evening. Okay, so now let's get back to our pronouns a little bit. We had our pronouns in the nominative, right? Ich, du, er, sie, es, sie, wir. These are actually nominative. I, you, she. And in English, what we have is subject and object case. So the difference between I and me is subject and object. And in German, it's similar with the pronouns, but we have them for all the cases. So here's the nominative again. Ich, du, er, sie, es, wir, ihr. These are all the nominative pronouns. And then what's going to happen is we need to memorize or at least recognize the pronouns in all of the different cases, because just like nouns, pronouns change based on the case they're in: nominative, accusative, dative, and genitive. So these are the ones we have already. Ich, du, er, sie, es, wir, ihr, sie, sie. Nominative pronouns that are the default ones. But if you want to use the pronoun in the accusative as the direct object, you need these different ones. So mich. So ich becomes mich, and that's similar to, in English, I and me. And if you have the wrong one, then it sounds weird. Like, the classic example is me go to the store. It sounds wrong. It should be I. So it's the same thing in German. It has to be in the right case, or else it is strange and confusing to the listener. So ich becomes mich, du becomes dich, er becomes ihn, sie stays sie, es stays es, wir changes to uns, ihr changes to euch, sie and sie stay the same in the accusative. And the dative has its own pronoun, so ich becomes mich, and then mir, to me, du, dich, dir, to you, er, ihn, ihm, to him or for him. Now it's got the exact same letters as the word him in English, just rearranged, right? Sie becomes ihr, and then it looks a little more like her in English, right? Ihr looks a little bit more like her. Es, and it does actually change here, ihm, to it. Wir, uns, and this one is actually the same between the accusative and the dative. Ihr, euch, that one doesn't change between those two. Sie, ihnen, this one, so to them or for them, ihnen, and then with the capital the formal U, it changes in the same pattern, but just with a capital I. And then the genitives, these are pretty rarely used, but you'll need to, it'll be like meiner, deiner. We'll have to look at some examples of these because these are really hard to like discuss out of context, but just know these are the genitive personal pronouns. Okay, so let's review the accusative so we can then see how the pronouns work, right? So der Teppich, Jens kauft den Teppich. Jens buys the rug. Jens kauft einen Teppich. That's what we're going to do with the nouns, regular nouns in the accusative. Jens kauft den Fernseher, einen Fernseher. Jens kauft die Gitarre, eine Gitarre. These are regular nouns in the accusative, but now we're going to add our pronouns. So see in this one back here, we had the articles, how the articles change from nominative to accusative. And now we're going to look at how the articles change, but also how the pronouns change from nominative to accusative. So, was kauft Jens? What does Jens buy? Jens, kauft den Pulli, he buys the sweater. Kauft einen Pulli. And then you can say, kauft ihn, which means he buys it, but Pulli is masculine, right? So you would translate it as it, but it really is like saying him. He buys him, but it's not really him, it's it. So it's like a masculine it. You would say he buys it, but masculine it. Yeah. So let's look at these and see how much we can start to absorb them. So ich in the nominative becomes mich in the accusative. Du, dich, ihn. So that's where we got kauft ihn. He buys it or him. Sie, this is sie. Es, wir, uns, ihr, euch. So this is y'all as a subject and y'all as a direct object. Sie, those don't change. So we can look at some examples. Maria says, der Fernseher läuft den ganzen Tag. The TV has been on all day. It's been running all day. This is the classic, like, is your refrigerator running? Well, you should go catch it. And in German, you say your TV is running as well. Is your TV running? You better go catch it. The TV has been running has been on all day. Michael says, soll ich ihn ausmachen? Should I turn it off? Ausmachen, to turn off. So should I turn it off? And a masculine it because it's der Fernseher. Should I turn it off is the nice translation, but you know that this is still in the masculine. So it's sort of like, should I turn him off? Okay. Frau Körner says, ich finde den Mantel toll. I think the coat is great. I find the coat great. And then Frau Greta says, kaufen Sie ihn, which is buy it. That's the direct object. Masculine, it. It means the translation is it, but it's really him. Buy him, masculine, inanimate object. Okay. Die Tasche ist so schwer, which is the bag is so heavy, feminine. Komm, Mama, ich trage sie. Come, here, Mom, I'll carry it. And so it's really saying I carry her, but it's an inanimate object, but it's feminine, so it keeps its feminine grammatical gender, but you translate it as it. I'll carry it. Ich trage sie. Tragen means to carry or wear, also clothing or things to carry. Yeah. Okay, Prinzessin, she says, hier ist mein Taschentuch. Du darfst mich nie vergessen. Here is my handkerchief. You may never forget me. Mich. And then he says, der Prinz sagt, ich vergesse dich nie. I'll never forget you. Yeah, so you can see mich, that's the direct object, forget me. And then I'll never forget you, which is dich. Direct object. Okay, so am Samstag geben wir eine Party. Ich möchte euch einladen. On Saturday we're hosting a party. I would like to invite y'all. So euch is then the accusative. Invite y'all, the direct object. Ich möchte euch einladen. Hallo, wir wollen nach Regensburg fahren. Nehmt ihr uns mit? So, we want to ride to Regensburg. Will y'all take us with you? Y'all take us with. So uns is like us. That looks quite similar. That's the direct object, accusative, uns. Nehmt ihr uns mit? So let's do this again. Ich, mich. Du, dich. Er, ihn. sie, stays the same. See, in English, we would say she and then her, like I know her, direct object. But in German, this doesn't happen to change. It only changes when you go over to the dative, which we'll have in a moment. S stays S. That's the same as English. It, right? We don't have like a separate form for those. Wir changes to uns, very much like we, us in English. Ihr, euch, y'all and y'all doesn't change in English. Sie, and sie, those don't change. Okay, so we can have some examples here. For example, kennst du den Film? Do you know the film? Kennst du den Film Inglourious Basterds? You might answer, ja, ich kenne ihn. Das ist der Film mit Brad Pitt. Yes, I know it. So der Film is masculine, right? And so when we're replacing der Film with a pronoun, we need to keep it in the masculine. So but then you translate it as it. I know it, masculine. Ich kenne ihn. Das ist der Film mit Brad Pitt. Kennst du den Schauspieler Joaquin Phoenix? Ja, ich kenne ihn. Das ist der Schauspieler in The Joker. Yes, I know him. That's the actor in The Joker. So the thing is, now that we're talking about a person, we translate it as him. Ich kenne ihn. I know him. But with the film, since we're talking about the film, it's it, right? But now we're talking about a person, so we do translate it as him. Ich kenne ihn. Das ist der Schauspieler in The Joker. Kennst du die Schauspielerin Emily Blunt? Ja, ich kenne sie. Sie ist die neue Mary Poppins. Yes, I know her. She's the new Mary Poppins. Ich kenne sie. I know her. Okay. Kennst du das Buch? The German title is what I have here. Kennst du das Buch Der kleine Hobbit? Which is of course just the Hobbit. Ja, ich kenne es. Das ist das Buch von Tolkien. Yes, I know it. That's a book by Tolkien. So the thing is, ich kenne es. The only reason it's S is because das Buch is neuter. So das Buch is neuter, so we're going to replace our pronoun in the neuter, and then we translate it as it. But we don't translate it as it just because it's neuter. We translate it as it because it's just an object, not a person. Ich kenne es. I know it. Neuter. That's the book by Tolkien. You say von. The book of Tolkien would be by. Okay, so now we have the nominative and the accusative and the dative. So we're going to add our datives to our toolkit. So ich is then mich, du dich, ihn, sie, es, wir uns, ihr euch, sie. But now the dative has a different set. So we have mir, dir, ihm, ihr, ihm, uns, euch, ihnen, and ihnen. So these ones are a little trickier. They have more changes going on. So we'll practice these. So you may notice in the phrase wie geht's, which is how are you, really means how goes it. How goes it? Wie geht es? Wie geht's? You can contract it. So you get the dative pronouns in this question a lot. You could also say wie geht's dir? How goes it to you or for you? How is it going for you? Dir is the dative pronoun that we had just here. Dir. How is it going for you? Wie geht's dir? And then when you answer, you can say mir geht's gut. For me, it goes it well. I'm doing well. So that's this one right here. Mir geht's gut. Es geht mir gut. Both of these word orders are fine. You can actually see the verb in the second position, but you can switch those. Es geht mir gut. Also fine. Wie geht es Ihnen is how you ask for a formal person. How are you doing? As in, how is it going for you? And that is this one. Wie geht es Ihnen? And then wie geht es Ihnen with the little I would be then this one. Wie geht es Ihnen? How are they doing? How is it going for them? So you see just the capital I for how is it going for you versus how is it going for them? Wie geht es Ihnen? Wie geht es euch is how are y'all doing? So you can see that one here. Euch. How are y'all doing? Coming from ihr. Euch. How is it going for y'all? Wie geht es ihm would be how is he doing? How does it go for him? Ihm, right here. Oh wait, that's the S one. Ihm, yeah. Ihm. How's it going for him? And then wie geht es ihr? You can probably guess is actually for the she. So wie geht es ihr? How's it going for her? So this is another thing where technically, like the dative feminine right here is the same as the nominative plural second person. So you really have to be careful on these two because they are technically the same, but based on context, you'll be able to tell which is which. Dative feminine to her. Wie geht es ihr is then, because like imagine if you didn't know what this was. The thing is, S is already the subject of the sentence. So we know we're not going to have another subject. So ihr is then going to be something else. And in this case, it's a dative pronoun. But if ihr were the subject, it would look totally different. It would just, you wouldn't have a different subject, right? And then wie geht es uns is how is it going for us? How are we doing? Okay, so we can identify some indirect objects in the sentences. For example, meine Mutter gibt mir immer zu viel zu essen. My mom always gives me too much to eat. Gives to me too much to eat. Try this one. Bringen Sie mir bitte die Weinkarte. Bring me, please, the wine menu. So you can find mir, bring to me the wine menu. Der Kellner schenkt ihm einen Luftballon. So you can look, see if you recognize any pronouns in the dative. The server gives him a balloon, an air balloon, which is just a balloon. So ihm, the server gives to him, ihm. Der Koch empfiehlt uns den Fisch. The cook recommends to us the fish. He recommends us the fish. So uns is going to be the dative pronoun there. Der Kellner bringt ihnen die Teller. The server brings them the plates. So brings to them, that is our dative pronoun, ihnen. Wie geht es euch jetzt? How goes it for y'all now? Or how are y'all doing now? Which is, of course, euch. Okay, so we can review these and try to commit these to memory as much as you can. Ich, mich, du, dich, ihn, sie, es, wir, uns, ihr, euch, sie, and then we have mir, dir, ihm, ihr, ihm, uns, euch, ihnen, and ihnen. Okay, let's look at some more examples. Der Kellner bringt dem Gast das Essen. We'll ask ourselves, what's the subject? Der Kellner. What's the direct object? Das Essen, right? And then indirektes Objekt, Dativ, dem Gast. The server brings the guest the food. But we want to replace some of our nouns with pronouns now. So we're going to replace dem Gast, which is the indirect object, with a pronoun, and we get Der Kellner bringt ihm das Essen, right? Because it's a masculine dative, and that's what we want for a masculine dative pronoun. Der Kellner bringt ihm das Essen. The server brings him the food. Let's try different people. The server is bringing the food to all the different people. So, der Kellner bringt, and we want to say to me, der Kellner bringt mir das Essen. The server brings me the food. What about if it was like du, the informal? It would be dir. Der Kellner bringt dir das Essen, brings the food to you. Der Kellner bringt, so for the formal you would be ihnen. Der Kellner bringt ihnen das Essen. And then ihr, to y'all would end up being euch. Der Kellner bringt euch das Essen. To him is ihm, and then to her is ihr, to her. And then to us is uns, and then to them, ihnen. Okay, so now let's try replacing some more nouns with pronouns. Der Kellner bringt dem Gast den Wein. We have our indirect object and then our direct object. The server brings the guest the wine. But now we're going to replace dem Gast with ihm, like we did a moment ago, and we have the den Wein. So the server brings him the wine. And then what we're going to do is instead of replacing dem Gast with this next one, we're going to replace den Wein. So, der Kellner bringt ihn dem Gast. So, den Wein becomes ihn in the accusative. The server brings it to the guest, masculine it. And then, der Kellner bringt ihn ihm. The server brings it to him. So you get these two pronouns next to each other. It can be a little confusing, but if you can tell which case they're in, you know what's happening here. And so you may have noticed that the word order is changing. The rule for this is as soon as you put your direct object into a pronoun, then it comes first. So normally, if your direct object is a full noun, then it comes after the indirect object. But as soon as you decide you want your direct object as a pronoun, then it comes first. And you do your indirect object after. Let's try another one. Der Kellner bringt dem Gast das Mineralwasser. The server brings the guest the sparkling water. We want to replace dem Gast. We'll say, der Kellner bringt ihm das Mineralwasser. Or now we want to keep dem Gast, but then do replace the direct object. Instead, it would be, der Kellner bringt es dem Gast, brings it to the guest. And since we've now put our direct object into a pronoun, it comes first. Der Kellner bringt es ihm, the server brings it to him. And since it's neuter, it's es. Okay. Der Kellner bringt dem Gast die Apfelschorle. Das ist die Apfelschorle, very common drink in Germany. It's part apple juice and part sparkling water. Der Kellner bringt dem Gast die Apfelschorle. So we're going to replace dem Gast with a pronoun. Der Kellner bringt ihm die Apfelschorle. Now we want to replace this Apfelschorle with a pronoun instead. Der Kellner bringt sie dem Gast. And because it's feminine, it looks like her, brings her to the guest, but it's really it because it's an inanimate object. And then we can also replace both of our nouns with pronouns. Der Kellner bringt sie ihm. The server brings it to him. And now let's try with our indirect object being feminine. Der Kellner bringt der Frau den Wein. Brings the woman the wine. Der Kellner bringt ihr den Wein. Now we have der Frau has been replaced with a dative pronoun, feminine. The server brings her the wine. Now let's try replacing the wine instead of the Frau, the woman. So, der Kellner bringt ihn, meaning den Wein, and then der Frau is like it was in the beginning. The server brings it to the woman, but now we want to replace both of these. Der Kellner bringt ihn ihr. The server brings it to her. So ihn is the wine, and then ihr is the woman. Let's try. Der Kellner bringt der Frau das Mineralwasser. Server brings the woman the sparkling water. Der Kellner bringt ihr das Mineralwasser. We replace der Frau with its corresponding dative pronoun, ihr. The server brings her the sparkling water. Der Kellner bringt es der Frau das Mineralwasser, es. So we've changed our direct object into a pronoun, es. Server brings it to the woman. And then when we want to replace both of them with pronouns, we have our es, we're going to do that, and then we're going to do the ia, and when the direct object is pronoun, then that comes first. Der Kellner bringt es ihr, es referring to the water, and ia referring to the woman. Okay, let's try the Apfelschorle. Now we've got two feminines. Der Kellner bringt der Frau die Apfelschorle. The server brings the woman the Apfelspritzer. Bringt ihr die Apfelschorle, brings her the Apfelspritzer. Der Kellner bringt sie der Frau. Now we're talking about the Apfelschorle in a pronoun, and der Frau is still a noun, brings it to the woman. And then for both of them, you say, der Kellner bringt sie ihr, brings it to her. Okay, so now we have an exercise for you to practice that. Wann besuchst du mich? That's just a bunch of sentences with pronouns. Just pay attention to the gender in the case. And then we've got a dialogue that has a bunch of, these are mostly, these are all accusative. Yeah, these are all accusative. And then these are all dative. So just pay attention to how those pronouns are working. And then this one has both dative and accusative. So letztes Testament, translate this last will and testament. Ich habe eine Katze. Ich gebe sie meinem Bruder. Ich gebe sie ihm. So you'll have to be working with these like tricky. So just to give you a little hint, it's like I give her to him because it's a cat, right? I give her to him. Ich habe ein Auto. Ich gebe es meiner Schwester. Ich gebe es ihr. Ich habe einen Fernseher. Ich gebe ihn meinem Vater. Ich gebe ihn ihm. So it's tricky pronoun situations. So that's all that. And we'll see each other in the next video. Wir sehen uns im nächsten Video. Vielen Dank. Bis gleich.